people out there who are studying the practice of the non-self. So, all right, just bringing this over, setting my phone there. So right now I'm on the phone with Bree and Christine, and Christine brought up causes and condition constitutes the self, the self. And so, who am I? And then when a person is born, they start taking in all sorts of information. And the question becomes, who caused that information? Any noise that they make inside of a room, I'm actually guilty of that because I just held a baby not too long ago. You guys seen that? It blew up pretty fast. The world took that by storm. They were like, "Oh my god!" And then the thing that I said while I was holding the baby, just they lost it. And I'm like, I don't have any children. And then I whispered, I said, "That I know of." And the world just lost it, completely lost it, especially on Instagram. So, anyways, since a child is born, and I believe the first 3 years, they're going to start recording all sorts of things. And energy and words and things that are being expounded and said. And then you fast forward that, if they grew up with an angry dad or angry mom, those are causes. The parents caused all of this. And subsequently, if the causes is not stopped, then it becomes conditioned. You caused it, and now you have conditioned this child to be angry, to be anxious, to be ambivalent. And that is why the attachment theories, if you look up attachment theories for children, that tend to happen that way. Um, so definitely, so when you examine somebody for the self, especially politicians or people of grandiose, they blow things up out of proportion. You have to kind of like, what caused this man to be this CEO that he thinks he's the baddest CEO the world has ever seen, or this senator that is the best. All the claims that they've made because they've been conditioned, or like Bree can say, I'm the best martial artist the world has ever seen, and we have to ask her like, well, who conditioned her this way? Maybe they surprised her 43 times that she is getting promotions, and now she's a 20-degree black belt. So you know what I mean. my 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 cousin Andy was inducted into the Black Belt Hall of Fame in Pittsburgh, like, I don't know, 4 times, and I went with him. International Black Belt Hall of Fame. And I was like, oh, dang. And some of the things that he can do in martial arts, I'm like, that's impossible. That's kinetically impossible. How do you do that triple backflip? Grab the guy's neck and wrestle the guy on the ground, and then punch the guy, and then does another backflip and stand on your own 2 feet. What? So, so that is the direct correlation between causes and conditions and practice of the self, the making, the manufacturing of a self, the sustaining of a self, and then of course in Buddhism, the practice of the non-self is to deconstruct that, and like the best way to deconstruct that is to ask that person, who exactly do you think you actually really are, Tom, Dick, and Harry? So when you ask them that, it kind of like it spears into their heart, it spears into their consciousness, and or a teacher like me can spear it again by saying, what if I strip you of your title as a professor? What if I strip you of your titles of a CEO? What if I strip you of your title of senator? Or just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? A he was a dạ chào cô.
Dạ không dạ.
Dạ. Cần vô đánh lễ hả?
Dạ cho con
Không sao
dạy
không.
học.
Dạ không sao. Sư đang nói chuyện với học sinh đang dạy học. Dạ không sao. Chuyện nhỏ. Cái giá bộ sư không có đây. Um, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. So what happened was he walked into this hotel, and I think the hotel was, I don't know in whose, I forgot in whose name, but he wasn't, when he walked back to the hotel, he wasn't a governor anymore. So they told him, kick rocks, get out and sleep on. He thought he could, I think he tried to get a room, and they told him to kick rocks, and he basically slept outside of it, close to like the sidewalk or something like that. And someone posted a picture. So the question becomes, yeah, that's how the world treated him. He no longer holds back. Yeah, yeah, xin phép con. uh, I'm so nice to people. There was a woman that just poked in and she wanted to pay respect to the Buddha. I'm like, come on in. And then when she said goodbye, I actually asked her permission if we could depart. Xin phép nhé. And I just caught myself like, I'm so nice to people. Maybe just today. um, she's supposed to tell me that. And I just told her that. See, that's how, see, you catch little stuff like that and you realize that he has let go of himself. He's not a John sitting in here. He just thinks he's a visitor.
She's probably so thrown off by that too.
Yeah, she's probably like, oh, well, I guess there was a homeless guy decided to jump in orange robes just sitting here. Got it. Have a good day. Nice to meet you. So, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that was, I think, humbling experience, but I don't think he's running around flexing that he's, former governor or is current governor. But you see how that could be stripped away from you? Also, the practice of the non-self is that it's impermanent. Your title, your job, who you are, who you think you are, who you think you actually really are, can be stripped of you. You can lose all of that title, fame, no different than all of the previous Hollywood stars. So, I hope that makes sense with the practice of the non-self.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. It does. Okay. The next couple of things I've underlined. This part here. It's at page 166, the top of the page. It says, the renunciant Sakyamuni brings unrest to our families, cuts off our lineage, and lures our children away to become his disciples. When I read that, it was relating to basically people began, to criticize the Buddha in regards to me, how I read it, they were not to say open-minded, but jumped to, and I could be wrong, but jumped to as in, the children aren't doing what we need or what I need. They're being, not to say led astray, but being taken to something that the parents or the families do not fully understand because they're not open-minded. And not to say there's more than one way of doing things. And from my own personal aspect of it, it resonated with me because knowing that some people in my family may not understand Buddhism or the path that it leads you down. To me, if it's bringing me inner joy and happiness so that I can help others, that's what should matter. And talking negative to your children or your families because you don't understand what they are doing to me is not right. So that passage right there just resonated with me, to see that the families were upset because they felt like their lineage was cut off or their children weren't listening to them. More so, they were becoming disciples of the Buddha and following his path to enlightenment, to me, to better themselves. And especially if they're coming from traumatic experiences or traumatic families, they're breaking the cycle without guidance from their family. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so the Buddha he was the founder of Buddhism. Everyone else was, in the Hindu world and the caste system. So, of course, he's going to receive resistance and knee-jerk reaction is what I call it. No different than me ordaining Ethan, novice Ethan, where, the family's like, huh? And I showed up and I'm like, hi, I'm taking your child away from you, and he's going to become this bald-headed monk in orange to inspire millions of his generations. He will learn peace, how to let go, and the parents were like, "Oh, okay, great, yeah, sure, we consent." Though that's easy, but some cases it gets not easy because people are still foreign to Buddhism and our monastic practice. So basically, when I ordain people, that's what's happening also. Um, and as they get more and more out of the practice, you know, say the parents are like, yeah, you should go forth and multiply, have children, and a lot of it. Well, you stay in Buddhism a little long, and you stay in Buddhism with me. I'm gonna say, try not to have kids. It's a lot of attachment. It's a lot of suffering. No different than what the Buddha said and what the Buddha led by action, leaving Rahula for 6 years. Um, so of course, they might be up in arms about the way how I teach, why I teach. Matter of fact, there'll be a bunch of scientists out there right now that don't like the way how I teach because I tell people don't try not to have kids. I repeat that every year. I repeat that in different places. When I was in Arizona, well, I'm back here now. I would go to the mountain and it's so beautiful, and I'm like, yeah, keep having kids. You ain't gonna have this mountain. Tell you that. They're gonna chisel and hammer, and they're gonna just chisel away this mountain and make it into a city, and put lights in it and pollute it. Yeah, pollute it with people. I do that. If you ever profile some of the teachings that I give out and about in public, it's very sharp. It's very deep and sharp, and it's meant to make people not have kids. And then you got people out there who are on the opposite table and are like, oh, well, our aging population is exploding. There's not enough young people to take care of the old people, and that's why you should have kids. Excuse me? I'm supposed to take care of who? Change who diapers? If you don't sit your behind down, you know what I mean? So, um, so subsequently, when the Buddha expounded what he was all about, his teaching on restraint, um, people were obviously not happy with that, and they're like, "Oh, wow, yeah, you're definitely going to cause a shift in change of consciousness and a shift in change in society's norm." Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I think I said to someone earlier this week, Miss Jacqueline in Georgia, she has her own podcast. She's also African American. She stands up for women's hoorah. And that's why the world loves me. I'm just different. I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. Um, roll up to the scene with my Toyota. Uh, and I told her, girl, listen, create your own trend. Don't go with the trend of the world. She's like, that's a quote. That's a TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely should do that. But that's what he did. He created his own trend. This is what he believed in. This is what he found out. This was the truth of life. Should not be attached onto anybody, places, or thing. It causes suffering. He was very serious with the word suffering. Everybody else just seems like, we don't really care what suffering is. We're just chilling. No, he found that out. He examined it for himself, and he brought the teachings to the world. And blessed are those who followed, and the one that remained ignorant. Oh well. See you next round.
So that goes into the passage that's further below. You stating that in the book, it says, the living Buddha seeks to guide people to the truth. He does not only guide the ordinary in how to be ordinary, but also guides the ordinary in how to be extraordinary. The teaching does not require one to renounce their worldly life. One may follow the same path even as a layperson. Interesting. Made me think about something. So in my instance, when I hear that, and especially listening to you and then my own experiences in life, and I think I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago, being in my early 30s and the typical, well, I can't speak for other females, but typical other families like, oh, you're getting up there in age, when's the children going to come, and so forth and so forth. And I have to hear that constantly when I go around my family. And being the youngest of my siblings with no children, and I only count my dog